fire in a crowded theatre, that's where you draw the line, where you've got a clear link to violence.
And then, from the public point of view, then how does, I'm sort of have a last one on the freedom of speech. How freedom of speech versus doing harm? So there are two, how do you define harm being done, to take a case in point, Bondi, what happened post Bondi, the kind of, the structure past the New South Wales government have talked about. So how do you define freedom of speech in those scenarios when it is, there is, yes, for sure, there is harm happening. So how far freedom of speech goes is allowed? How do you draw the line?
Well, I think if your speech is inciting violence or causing a form of harm either to individuals or, as I described in those two examples I gave you, where someone's engaging in vitriolic abuse of someone, it's almost an assault, or someone's creating a hazard through their speech, fire in a crowded theatre, that's where you draw the line, where you've got a clear link to violence. That sort of speech is I think, beyond the pale and shouldn't be necessarily protected. But I think in terms of broader free speech protections, we should err on the side of allowing robust debate. We should err on the side of allowing people to express unpopular views, and then allow the debate itself or the community's reaction to those views to be the way in which they are in effect defeated, rather than trying to outlaw them.
In the last 30, 40 years of economic policies turns and the cycles, probably we haven't had the recession which we talked about, probably the 90s. What's your observation on the economic policy? How has it gone through in multiple cycles in the last 4 decades? And what more to be done?
Well, that's an incredibly broad question, and I'm not quite sure where to approach it from, but I think the starting point would be that...
From the Keating side of it, the question you were talking about. So if you can start from there, what did you feel? Or Hawke from Hawke?
So I think the starting point is that economic policies have to be geared towards the relevant time. Economic policies are not acontextual. You can't just apply the same policy in different scenarios and expect the exact same outcome, or expect the policy to be fit for all purposes. But you've hit on a point that I love talking about, which is the economic reforms of the Hawke-Keating era and what they meant for Australia. And sort of one of the reasons, there are many, but one of the reasons I was really attracted to the Labor Party when I was younger was because I found...
Because Keating wore good suits.
Well, not good suits, but he had both Hawke and Keating had a vision for the country that was beyond the terms of government, that was a 20, 30, 40-year vision. We're still reaping some of the benefits of that, about opening up Australia to the world economically, in order that we could lift living standards, in order that Australia could become an economically more productive and competitive country, while at the same time marrying to that a social wage that ensured that working people weren't left behind. You had the development of Medicare, you had investments in education, you had ways in which they really brought together the various different parts of our community into a Team Australia idea that said, we're committed to this vision, we're going to implement a series of reforms. I don't think they would have necessarily predicted the volatility that flowed from all of them, or some of the hardship that flowed from all of them, and that hardship was very real. But it was with a goal in mind, namely to make Australia a more prosperous place, and I think they succeeded beyond measure, and in fact I think we're still reaping some of the benefits of those reforms here today.